Hello and welcome back to another episode of Hammer Down Ranked, where we rank the albums of some of my favourite bands, and today we're going with Ohio-based Before Their Eyes. So today we're going to be ranking the 5 records that they released between 2007 and 2015. Now, Before Their Eyes had many members over the years, most notably Nick Moore, the founder of In Vogue Records, and Anthony Dan Schroeder, 2 of the founding members of the band, and of course Landon Chewers, who went on to focus on The Plotting New after a 2008 to 2010 stint with Before Their Eyes. So the band's name comes from a passage in the Bible that says, "There is no fear of God before their eyes." So the band were very much part of that post-hardcore movement, which later on, a bit more Midwest emo stuff, especially with some of their later stuff. They toured with a lot of the scene bands from back in that day. They did Warped Tour, they toured with Escape the Fate, Bless the Fool, Say You're Seeing, A Skylit Drive, I See Stars, all of those kind of bands. So we're going to get straight into it, and at number 5 we've got the debut self-titled album Before Their Eyes. So Before Their Eyes, even before this album, had managed to get themselves involved with Rise Records. Nick Moore talks about how it was potentially thanks to a Devil Wears Prada show that the band supported, and good words were said to the record label, and therefore they signed them. So that's great. So right off the bat, the band were on a major label, and it's not a bad debut record. As far as I can find, it didn't chart, even on the Heat Seekers and things like that, but it does have a couple of good songs on it. City in a Snow Globe, Why Is 6 Afraid of 7, and You Talk a Good Game. Those are my personal favourites from the record. But overall, it's a pretty obvious debut. It's not that exciting, not that experimental, and not even that well done. Like, it's good, it's fine, good enough to be on a major label, so it's a decent record. It's just not anywhere near as good as their later stuff, and that's fine. It's a debut album. They were young kids at the time. So moving on to number 4, 2008's The Dawn of My Death. So this album managed to make it to number 9 on the Billboard Heat Seekers chart. Also has one of my favourite songs ever from Before Their Eyes, Because 789, which is a play on words from the song on the previous album, Why Does 67. I don't know why post-hardcore bands were doing this. All these scene bands were making these really weird long song names. I don't know why. But regardless, it's a great song. Other great songs on the album include The Dawn of My Death, The Me I Used to Be, and Life Was All a Dream. So they were still on Rise Records for this album, and they had their second most successful charting album, as I mentioned, 9th in the Heat Seekers. And it was shortly after this record that Nick Moore, the vocalist and guitarist, ended up founding In Vogue Records. Later on, the band would move over to In Vogue Records, and we're going to talk about that in a little while. Over the years, In Vogue signed a lot of artists, including Hotel Books, who has done songs with Before Their Eyes, Chunk No Captain Chunk, Dayseeker, Convictions, who are doing a Hammer Down show later this year, coming over from the US. That's going to be very, very exciting. And even Being As an Ocean. So they had some major bands on their label over the time. I like Nick Moore. I like entrepreneurship. He even had his own clothing shop, which he sold in 2021. So it was obviously pretty successful business. But we're going to move on to album number 3. But before we do that, we're going to talk about my shirt of the week. So we're going to be talking about Torchbearer. Now, Torchbearer, they're a band playing Hammer Down Festival on the 28th of July, 2024. So if this video is after that, they've already played, sorry. They are a metalcore band from over in Cardiff, in South Wales. I used to live up in Cardiff, so I knew the boys up there, went to 1 or 2 of their shows at a legendary venue called Fuel, which, if you're ever in Wales, is the coolest rock bar around. So last year, they dropped an album called Warrior. Some of my particular favourites from that song are Warrior Spirit, Catharsis In Karma, and Vindication. Those 3 tracks in particular are songs that you need to get in your ear holes. They're very much on the heavier end of metalcore. There's no clean vocals. It's all screaming and shouting all the way through. They're pretty savage. There's almost got some thrash vibes at times. They're high energy. They're excellent live, and they're some of the hardest working people I've ever met in terms of the social media. They hound it. They want to make sure that they get their messages out to as many people as possible. Go and check them out. Torchbearer. And this, by the way, is an awesome shirt. It's like an Olympic torch. Really, really cool. I picked this up at... Where did I pick this up? Probably in Cardiff. I don't know. But anyway, they're going to be playing Hammer Down in a couple of weeks' time, and I'm really excited for that. But back to the albums, and it's number 3, and we're talking about Midwest Modesty from 2015. Now, this album made it to number 7 in the Heat Seekers chart, making it the most successful charting album that they ever put out. But even despite that, this ended up being their last album. This record is very different to previous Before Their Eyes records, definitely very much down the Midwest emo route. We talked in the last ranked video about Bless the Fool, about how when the post-hardcore scene started to sort of die off and bands would go down various different directions, Bless the Fool went down a heavier, more metalcore route. Before Their Eyes stripped things back a little bit and went more down a melodic, Midwest emo route. Midwest emo artist Hotel Books featured on one of their tracks. Great song. That song's called We Won't Make the Same Mistake Again. For whatever reason, all of the songs on this album seem to have really, really long names. I don't really know why. Some great songs on the album. We Destroyed All the Evidence, Adam Was a Cool Dude, It's Dark Inside with You, and Anything's Possible in New Jersey. Those are great songs. It's great to see the band move in a really, really different direction, and after this album I was very, very excited as to what was to come next. This is the third best album in my opinion that they ever put out, but we're going to talk a little bit about what happened after this at the end of the video. So number 2, 2012's Redemption. So prior to this record, the band had gone on a temporary hiatus. Nick Moore put online that he had parted ways with the band due to disagreements within the band and between the band and the management label Rise Records, who had produced all 3 of the first albums. Now by this point, Nick Moore had already set up In Vogue Records, and therefore for Redemption and Midwest Modesty, they were both signed to his own label, In Vogue Records. Undoubtedly the heaviest record they ever put out. The first single that came with a music video is Lies, and that intro, immediately from the first second, deep growls, very, very low tune guitars, awesome track. That's probably my second or third favourite Before Their Eyes song ever. But also Redemption, Dream, Revival, all fantastic songs. Again, we can probably argue that much like bands like Bless the Fall, the ones who did make it out of that post-hardcore scene and end up developing into something different, they started to go down a heavier route before they went down the more Midwest emo route. I personally would have loved them to stick with this sound. It's absolutely awesome. With Before Their Eyes, we're not even going to talk about all the member changes because there's like 400 of them listed on Wikipedia, and I have no idea when they all came in and out of the band. It just seems too complicated. A bit like Buried in Verona a few videos back. I really tried to get all of them right in that video. For Redemption, I couldn't actually find any charting history, so I don't know if it made it into the Heatseekers charts. It possibly did, but I couldn't find anything to say it did. Overall, really, really good album, and it certainly left fans with a lot of desire for more of the same. But now number 1, certainly the most iconic album from Before Their Eyes, 2010's Untouchable. This is their most fantastic album, obviously, otherwise it wouldn't be number 1. Every song back to back on this record is banger after banger. Genuinely probably one of my top 50, 60 albums of all time. It's an awesome record. I will be getting the little heart tattooed on me at some point. It's on the list. It made it to number 22 in the Heatseekers, so it's their third most successful charting record. Post-hardcore, aggressive, dirty bangers like Hey Dude on there, as well as Not Alone, Finding a Way, Rick vs. Nick, which is awesome, and of course their most iconic song, Sing to Me. Beautiful post-hardcore tune. In the music video, they've got all the hair. They were a proper emo band. Chorus is catchy. Vocals sound great. Guitars are really, really nice. Overall, it's a really, really awesome album. So, where are Before Their Eyes now? Well, for those who've been following them like I have, over the next 5 years after Midwest Modesty, they continued to put things out. We had songs like Here, Stay, Break, This Fantasy, a whole range of different stuff released between 2015 and 2020. We even managed to get some remasters of a couple of classic tunes, City in a Snow Globe and We Won't Make the Same Mistake Again with Hotel Books. That dropped as recently as 2022. But it has now been 9 years since the last full album, and the socials have been very, very quiet since the re-release of that tune in 2022. In fact, their Facebook page, for example, still has that as the cover photo as their latest song. So it's pretty clear to see that things are probably not going anywhere now, which is a shame. I definitely think the band had a lot more potential. Before Their Eyes also did a song with a band called, I don't know how to say this, Qualia, I don't know. It's called For You, and it's absolutely wonderful. So clearly Nick Moore's still very, very involved. He's still doing stuff. Some of the other guys are probably doing music as well, but it doesn't look like Before Their Eyes are going to be putting out any more tunes, which is a real shame. If they do come back, I'll be the first to jump on that. So everybody, that is my 5 albums from Before Their Eyes, ranked in order of best to worst. What do you think? Did I get that right? Do you think that Redemption was the best? Do you think that the direction they took with Midwest Modesty was the best? Or are you a fan of the early records? Let me know in the comments. Other than that, please leave a like on the video, drop us a comment, let us know, subscribe to the channel, and keep an eye out for all of the latest Hammerdown news. The festival's just a couple of weeks away, and of course we've got our Winter Militia secret band being announced for that soon. May have given that away earlier in this video. There is lots of awesome stuff coming. We'll see you in the next video.